You're listening to Happy Hour Hustle from the creative geniuses here at 834. We're funny, informative, and we swear. We talk all things marketing, communication, small business, plus we offer up hot takes on our industry and whatever else we feel like talking about. So, grab your drink of choice. It's always 5 o'clock at 8:34, and crank it up. Hey hustlers, welcome back. Happy New Year to everyone here. We are here with our digital team because we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the new things in 2024 in the digital space, the digital marketing space. So we have Ro and Josh here. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for putting us on. I am Rowan, as Maddie so lovely said. I'm a digital account manager here and part of the digital team. And then Josh, who the heck are you?
I am Josh. I am also part of the digital team. Yeah, Ro and I kind of tackle it all.
Perfect. So what is some of the new things that you guys have noticed in 2024? What should people know about?
So the one that hit my inbox and I was like, what the hell is a lot of people don't think about LinkedIn ads. They're not like as popular just because I mean they are popular, but it's much more niche depending on who you're going for. And if you're B2C, like sometimes people don't think about them. But LinkedIn ads just dropped that they're getting rid of lookalike audiences, which is huge. Um, for people who aren't familiar, lookalike audiences are like they've been around for a very long time. Essentially, what you do is you upload a list of like 500, 1,000 plus emails of people who fit like your customer list or something like that, or your newsletter list. And then the algorithm of the platform that you upload it to then finds people that are like those people, so you're not using the email for like marketing. Like it's not like they had to opt in for marketing. It's just like, hey, match these to profiles and find people that resemble them because they're going to be way more likely to convert. This has been like super big. One of the biggest things like the most common things that people do when you've got like a really niche audience is to use a lookalike audience because like especially with I don't know, last year, was it last year when Facebook cut like 15 or like 150,000 of its interest-based targeting things as
I
options.
remember
Like,
too.
yes. So LinkedIn, this has been something that you use also of like, here's all my professional contacts. Find me more people who are, I don't know, the decision makers at a firm that does this specific thing for GovCon. So LinkedIn's dropping it, which is wild because every other platform still has it. So I don't know why they decided they were like, no, we're good. Um, but yeah, I saw that and it was in my inbox, and when it came through, it was like a hit the brakes, go back, hold on, I need to actually read that email sort of situation. I don't know, Josh.
What
I
would drive someone to drop that?
I don't understand why you would get rid of that because it seems like the perfect way to find to get like your ad in front of your target. Um, but I'm curious if it like has anything to do because their ad revenue has like skyrocketed lately ever
Yes.
since like so a lot of major brands have kind of shifted from without getting political shifted from using ads on Twitter or X and now they're kind of focusing more on LinkedIn and so like just LinkedIn in general is kind of like having its moments.
About time, considering that it
Yeah.
took until what, like 2017 to get video on LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
it's always been the one that's a little behind the others. So it's interesting to see that kind of influx going into it. Um, and like, sure, they're trying to get people to use like predictive audiences, is I think what they're calling them, of like if you upload less contacts, our AI will find people that might be like them, but like
Leave it
it's
to
very
AI.
weird.
Yeah,
Um,
that's interesting. Moving towards the AI side of things, and
Yeah. I mean, everyone's using it.
everyone's using it. Well, that's interesting. So LinkedIn, what are like the things happening with Google right now? I feel like every other week
gosh,
I get different email from Google changing something.
I mean, I was gonna say, how
Like
much time do you have?
I feel like Google's just like one of those things similar to Facebook. Like every day it's changing and there's something new to learn or something you just learned just got removed.
Yeah. Although I will say that the conversational option that they're rolling out, I don't know if you've seen that at all, Maddie, in the many emails you get. It's very interesting. I mean, we were just talking about AI, but for context again, it's like when you're building an ad, there's a point in the campaign where you can switch into like this conversational type where the AI talks to you to ask stuff about what you're trying to advertise. And then based on that, it generates like headlines and images and like content for you to fill out the ad. Yeah, it's really weird.
Like its own little marketing agency
Yeah.
almost.
Maybe, I don't know, it's really weird because like you have to build out the campaign almost completely before you get to that point. So like you have to know enough to go in and do all of that before you hit this step. So I don't really like they've been kind of packaging it as like a it'll help like marketers be more efficient because like you can then control at the end of like yes use this, but at the same time like an AI generated image is still an AI generated image whether or not it's through a conversational. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know, they're like toting it as like this big thing. It's only available in English, they're rolling it out still, but like
Huh.
I don't know how I feel about it.
I feel like all of the ad platforms, because I know Facebook also just announced they have like 28 new AI features that are all like around like content creation or like creating ads, like everything like in that area. They introduced all of these new tools to help do creative, do like the images, do the copy, like all of this stuff. It's just slowly moving more and more towards being ran by AI. And then us as the marketers, we're just like putting those inputs in. And like essentially, I feel like what that Google platform is doing, like I almost see it kind of like breaking down into the future. Like you open up your ads and then put in I want to target X, Y, and Z. This is my product. This is where I want to display it. And then on the back end, Google's AI or whoever's AI is actually building that ad. Like that's for sure where I see all of
Although
this leading to.
it opens a weird can of worms though, because like OpenAI is under so many lawsuits right now because
Yeah.
you're like AI, we have not reached sentience. I think there's like 5 stages of AI. I think we're at 4. I'm sure somebody is listening to this and very angry that I chose the wrong number. But essentially we're at the point where AI can't create new stuff. It can just like follow a pattern and it can take like variations on that pattern, but it has to have examples. So in order to feed things like ChatGPT, Bard, anything like that, I guess it's Gemini now, anything like that, like oh Gemini, they had to have some models to go off of. So when we're using AI, even if down the road it's like, hey, put this in, give me this ad platform, like make this entire campaign for me, it's a very interesting ethical question of, but what is it riffing off of to make that ad? Like OpenAI right now is getting sued by the New York Times because they were writing journalistic articles, but they used the New York Times to feed it to teach it how to do those
As a
articles.
learning
Allegedly,
point.
allegedly, allegedly, allegedly.
Yeah.
Um, but
No, and I do think I mean, that's the biggest question about AI is everything it puts out is something that's already existed before in a sense, and then it's just, I don't know, synthesizing it and putting it together and spitting it
Re-envisioning
out,
it. Yeah.
re-envisioning it. Yeah, I don't know the best word for it. But I do find that interesting with ads too, because I mean, parts of it are formulaic. Obviously, you put in like a lot of these things and automating
Mhm.
parts of that does make life easier, but as the people at our company who do those digital ads, at what point do you think it becomes counterproductive for AI to be doing so much for you where you lose like the creative side of it?
oh gosh, all the time. Like
Yeah.
I feel like even right now, especially because AI is still like kind of learning, if you build something in Meta and you're putting in like headlines, it'll give you recommendations that sometimes are literally just the same headline that you put up 3 headlines above it, but with some like emojis added and extra hashtag. Like
Yeah.
they're not good.
I
But it
feel like
sure is a
AI
riff on
loves
it.
emojis more than
Oh
I
my
do.
gosh, so much. I know. Like I'll slip emojis into like an ad because yeah, there's data that shows that that can help. But like AI throws like 5 emojis in at any given time.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a
Um,
little emoji heavy.
just a little bit. And then like 3 hashtags in ad copy. Like it's still refining itself to the point right now that I feel like you can't really like you can use it to generate ideas, but using
Right.
AI right now to generate content is such a slippery slope. Maybe down the line. Um,
Yeah, for sure down the line. I like now, I don't know, I'm not like worried about job security or anything because we're not there yet. Like we're not at the point where there's an AI tool that can replace all of the like replace me doing all of the things I do. Like I don't know, maybe eventually, but there are a lot of like manual things to a lot of those processes still where it's not you can't really automate it if that makes sense. And I see that more on like the design side of it, not necessarily with like like just like regular old graphic, but like when it comes to like photography or videos, I know like AI videos are kind of like becoming this new thing. And like Adobe even has their like generative fill thing. They have
mhm.
one for video too, where you could like literally crop out an area of someone walking and be like, add in, put them in a suit and tie. It's like,
But those go wrong so quickly. Like there's like a TikTok of somebody on a beach doing a generative fill, and it winds up with like a kid running away from parents being chased by giant seagulls. Like depending on how you
yeah.
do it, it's
And I
cool,
don't
but
know,
like
I'm not a fan of the AI generative fill within Photoshop. I feel like it does not work very well. Like, I don't know. I've seen tons of like videos and stuff online of people using it, and it's like boom, boom. They have like all of these new things instantly, and I've never gotten it to work fast.
Well, and I feel like you always end up, that's where you see the things on Twitter or Facebook where it's like, look at this person, like they have 6 fingers. It's so obvious this company used AI, and then it looks bad if they didn't disclose they used AI to create it. And I feel like
Right.
you get in a slippery slope there too, where it's like one little mistake that you may not see because you've been looking at it over and over again, really can run you
Yeah.
into some trouble with that.
I remember like the hand thing was a huge issue when it came to AI because AI could not figure out how to like just have 5 normal looking fingers on a hand. And so there'd be like these weird, like mutated AI hands. And it's like, well, that's not real.
I think it's interesting too to see, especially in ads, people like creating AI generated images is fine, obviously. Like if you don't have the copy, like the content, if you're making sure that it is representative of what you want it to be, if like you've got all that under control, you're making sure that you're not following any biases that are baked into the system. But like some people are using it that without thinking about their industry. So like there was a really popular like drawing tablet company that recently put out an ad for the Lunar New Year, and they use an AI generated image when they are selling to the art community. So like I think people are just so excited about this new tech and what it can do in ads that people aren't thinking about their audiences, which really is what this goes
Right.
back to. Because that company wound up getting blasted all over social, not because they had a shitty AI image, because like whatever, every company has a shitty AI image at some point, but because it's literally in that case seen as taking jobs away from the demographic they were trying to serve the
They're
ads to.
targeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, if
Um,
like an art
and I
company has to use ads, then what, or like AI ads, then what are you doing?
exactly,
Right.
exactly. So I think it's like, I mean, like Microsoft just released something that can just make a banner ad for you instantly, which is cool. But again, I think there's really this human touch in a lot of ads right now of like, okay, yes, we have this ability to do this, and in creative spaces and like anything that touches with this, but yes, you can make anything, but you have to have somebody who knows what they're doing, knows who you're talking to, knows how you're targeting, etc., to make sure that what you create will be effective and won't like blow up in your face because you use the cool newest tool without thinking about it.
Right. Like
Um,
I could almost see like years from now, like someone's job is gonna be like write a prompt for AI. Like that's their job is
yeah,
writing prompts to come up with ad sets, to come up with creative, like all of this stuff. And I feel like now it's not doesn't work all that well because us humans don't know exactly what to feed that algorithm. But like once I feel like that code is kind of cracked and like we know specifically like, hey, I need to formulate this prompt in a specific way and I will get an amazing outcome. Like I feel like it's a matter of time before people really like figure that out and then
Yeah.
actually like you can utilize it in a really good way versus like, oh, I need a graphic of a tree in the woods, and then it just gives you this crappy result.
Yeah.
Like
Also,
being able to just like fine tune it and know like where to add like extra keywords or something to like actually have like a legit product.
Yeah, not just that
which,
weird trend where you say like, the Chat GPT thing where it's like more Michigan. It like
yeah.
adds it adds like a university. No, no, more Michigan, but not university. And it's like, here's a beach.
Right. And like people are just using it more and more. And like I saw that February of last year, Chat GPT had the highest users and they had over 100 million users a week. And like for context, that's a third of the US population. So like it's kind of great. Like if there's that amount of people just like using it, playing around with it, using it as like an actual tool, like eventually people will streamline it and just, I mean, you're already seeing it. There's countless applications for copywriting, for image creation, to make a headline, like all of this stuff. There are tons of AI tools. And the more people are playing around with this and just being creative with it, like more stuff is just going to come out of the woodworks that we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah, it's like hard coding websites back in the day, and now we've got drag and drops. Like you've got people that can speak it, and down the line
Yeah.
it'll change. But also AI wise, though, I think it's very interesting because back to what you were asking about, like what's new in the Google space and stuff. They just recently released a guide to really push the Performance Max ads. And Performance Max ads are interesting because based on the inputs you give them, it helps to direct AI and the algorithm to put it into very specific places. So, like, literally, the guide that they put out was like, make sure that you have all this stuff, and like, here's how to best use it so you can feed the AI to make sure that it can put you out where it needs to be, and then it handles smart bidding, and the AI will take care of your bidding, and it'll help with your audiences and your creatives. And it's interesting to me because there becomes a point where, as much as I love Performance Max, and we were actually talking about this yesterday, where we feel like it's going to take over the other options of like search, display, etc., because it's everywhere. Um, I love me some Performance Max. I am very interested at what point Performance Max is fighting against Performance Max because we have AI against AI because we've just put it to a point of like, oh, it's managing my keywords and my smart bidding and my messaging and my creative, and everything looks the same suddenly. Or it keeps doing the make it more Michigan because it's trying to outdo the other Performance Max campaign, which is making it more Michigan, and it becomes an echo chamber, right? Like I I don't know. I
Yeah.
saw it. It made me wonder what the landscape of ads is going to look like if we start like just embracing this approach to it. Because at some point, it's all based off the same algorithm. It's all based off the same AI. It's just the prompts that really um, like differentiate it.
Uh-huh.
So when do we start just repeating prompts at each other?
Right. Like it's just going to be learning from itself at that point.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's weird to think about. And I mean, that goes back to the whole problem with AI right now, which is it just derives from what's there. So if it's creating all the content that's there, then it's deriving
Right.
things from itself.
Exactly. Just derivatives of derivatives. But also in Google Space, also kind of related to that, um, there's been some. So everybody knows Google always focuses on the stuff that makes it money. That's why you can reach somebody who does ad campaigns super easy, but you want to know something about SEO, there's no way you're getting any information because search doesn't make it money. There has been some interesting studies done lately saying that it's controversial, so we can't necessarily take it at its word, but there is a possibility that Google is getting higher records of spam on like high intent e-commerce stuff. So like buy this is getting higher amounts of spam just because of the sheer amount of content that can now be produced by things like when you have AI templates. And to be clear, Google has decided not to dock anything that's written by AI. They changed their standards. Um, so EEAT now doesn't penalize you for that as long as it is written for humans. But that does mean that they are getting so much more spam, hypothetically, potentially, that it's impacting their SEO performance and being able to serve as a search engine, which is interesting, especially because right now they're still in talks about whether or not they're a monopoly with the Justice Department. So, like, if they're losing the monopoly that they hypothetically could have, I don't know, it's very interesting considering that they were late to the Bard game too.
Yeah, which kind of brings up a topic that I have written down.
Yeah.
So, and it's in like that same wheelhouse of like essentially Google searching. Like, so Google did their own report and found that over 40% of Gen Z people use TikTok and Instagram as a search engine versus Google now, which is wildly crazy because like when we were younger, it was, oh, you're going to Google, you're going to YouTube, and now it's completely changing. And that's kind of changing how like people are actually like creating content and like captions and stuff for TikTok and Instagram, because now like, so there's been this huge debate on whether like hashtags actually really do anything anymore, and like getting new reach, getting new followers, stuff like that. And it's kind of just falling into this hashtags are kind of just falling into this category of it's just like added keywords onto your post. And so like people are searching that. And so like there's this trend of not using hashtags like happy birthday, but like doing more like specific things and kind of like niching it down a little bit. And it's just kind of crazy that people are just using socials as a search engine.
Do
And
y'all
it's,
not do that? Because I definitely do that.
When I was in
I'm still
news,
on the
I
YouTube
used
train.
yeah, when I was in news, I used Twitter as a search engine quite a bit. Just because that was like the place where reporters would say things first. Like if there was ever a story that was breaking, you'd go to Twitter because it would have it before Google would have it. And then Google
Yeah.
would have the tweets anyway. So I'm guilty of doing that. Like I definitely use it. But I mean, I'm not on the TikTok boat yet, but
What?
that's
No, I super use it.
I don't.
Like
But
it,
my problem is I would just scroll through the videos all day. It's like
That's my problem.
it's a sickness for me. So I had to get rid of it because I'm like, I'll use it for searching purposes if I'm like looking up influencer stuff, but that's about it.
but no, like I will use TikTok as a search engine for stuff all the time. If it's like how to keep my dog occupied during work or like stuff like that, that like it is not of consequence if this is not factually 100% accurate.
Okay, so I do that, but I use Reddit.
Yeah.
Like I will literally type into Google like, why is my dog shedding? Reddit, and then add Reddit to it, and then there will be just like a million topics on Reddit of literally that same thing, and then I can just read. It's like reading reviews for a product, I feel like, and you just read everyone's like true opinion on whatever that is.
That's interesting though that that's impacting because people are searching through social media outlets more at a like the Gen Z generation at least is more so than using Google, how that's changing how people write their ads. I find that interesting, or changing how
Yeah.
they like communicate.
It's also interesting because like YouTube used to be, I mean, I think it still is, but it was just always like a second nature. Oh, there's Google is the number one search engine, and then YouTube is the second search engine that people use. But now that might be up in the air. I don't know. I haven't checked.
Ironically owned by the same company.
Oh yeah, it's so weird how that works, huh?
I get my
Yeah.
music through YouTube. I get made fun of a lot for that by my children.
I also
They're like, "Are
see,
you
like,
listening to YouTube?" I'm like, "I sure am."
I sure am.
Music's kid.
Exactly.
But I see that trend kind of like with ads too. Like if you see ads on Instagram and TikTok, mostly I feel like it's like this on TikTok. Half the time you don't even know if it's an ad because it's like an actual person kind of like talking about something. Like then halfway through the ad, you figure out, oh, this is an ad. And so like being able to utilize like actual people doing stuff and like getting the product out there in a catchy way. Like I feel like that whole area, like landscape of ads has kind of changed for like physical products.
Yeah. Well, it's because I mean, in the TikTok sphere, I feel like they use influencer marketing probably the most efficiently at this point because that's what that space is a lot of.
Yeah.
So
I think it's interesting too because TikTok has recently, I say recently, it just hit my timeline. Timeline? Oh my gosh, what is this, Tumblr? Oh, y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyway, it just hit my For You page, so it might have been out there for a while, but essentially like you'll finish a video and then it'll autoplay an ad after it now. So instead of like interspersing them, so you're like, oh, that's obviously an ad, whatever. I don't care about this like Gordon Ramsay AI thing that's happening. You'll finish it and then it'll immediately go into an ad. So it's very weird because if you want to go back instead of it auto playing the video on loop, you have to sit
Mhm.
through it. So I know there's been some stuff out
Gosh.
recently about how unskippable video ads have had like a negative engagement on YouTube at least. So I wonder if that's TikTok's response to it. Um, but
I feel like I just read something not too long, or it probably was a little while ago, but YouTube did something kind of similar, and they added in ads that you can't skip
yeah,
because there were so many like ad blockers that you could download as like a Google Chrome extension on your browser, and then it would just like bypass all of the ads on YouTube videos. Now it's like the API for YouTube is detecting these ad blockers and like blocking people's accounts and just to make them watch a stupid ad.
hey, we run those stupid ads.
if it is relevant, then it's good. That's the thing
That's
is
true.
like if you're being served relevant ads, Elena was talking about this the other day actually, where occasionally she'll get served something and she's like, "Oh, that's interesting," and it's relevant to her, but she doesn't really want to think about it yet. So she'll click into it because she knows that she'll get retargeted then, so that it'll come back around later. So like if it's something that you care about, you'll actually care about it. If not, yeah, I'm installing ad blocker. Let's
Which is
go.
actually kind of genius because I've done that for sure before. Like, oh, I like this sweatshirt, but I don't want to buy it right now. But I'm just gonna keep clicking on the ad every time I see it, so it just keeps popping up in my feed.
Mhm.
Eventually, I'll buy it.
You're like, I know I need 7 touch points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your phone will pick up on it.
Right.
I love that when Luke and I have conversations about things and he'll like Google something and I'm like, next thing I know, I have an Instagram ad for it. I'm like, it's working.
You do share a Wi-Fi, close proximity.
Yep. All right. Well,
Um,
I do want to start wrapping things up. Do you guys have any parting words for the listeners?
I would say like I don't know. I feel like digital marketing in general is just not necessarily a slippery slope at the moment, but I feel like it's approaching a slippery slope when like with AI and stuff. Just because there are so many possibilities when it comes to what AI can and can't do. And I really do think it'll kind of like alleviate a lot of people from doing like boring tasks, I guess you could say, to like potentially free them up to do more creative things or like better utilize their skills or something.
yeah, I think there's so much changing. It's always been like this, but I feel like right now it's really under a microscope of how much changes in digital and how quickly. Just because it's in the general like conversation, people talk about AI and stuff like that. But I think right now it's really, really essential not only to stay up to date with things that are changing, but also to have a code of ethics in relation to anything that might be generative, um, just to kind of point you in a direction because there are these really cool things and Performance Max is awesome to roll out. And sure, I want a banner to be made, but if you don't have something that you can compare this new tool against, it could potentially down the line come back to bite you.
Mhm.
Yeah, no,
So,
absolutely. I feel like we could do a whole episode on just the ethics of AI
oh
Right.
gosh.
and
Like
then do
it's
like
on
6 of
like
them.
GPT has only been out for 2 years. And like look how far it's come in 2 years.
And it's
Like
still everywhere, which is, sometimes it's not a people say like things like that are a fad or like run out quickly, but I feel like
Right.
it's still used so much.
Oh,
And
for sure. And
It's like the rollout of the
expanding
internet.
more.
Like it's another it's another piece of technology. People are treating it like it's this wild thing that like either will go away tomorrow or is going to revolutionize everything. And like, sure, but we did that with the invention of radio and the invention of television and the invention of the internet. Like, this is AI's been around since like the 70s. So like it's fine.
it's
Everybody
fine.
just needs
I
to
do. This was
know.
interesting.
Yeah.
I thought of this. We were having a discussion with intern candidate the other day about what they're doing in school with AI. Like we're asking them how they're handling it, like in the
Oh,
marketing space in school. And they said like their professors are encouraging them to use it for prompts and things like that, and really focusing on the ethics of all of it. And the best way I can relate it back in my mind from going up through school, however long ago, was remember when the internet was first becoming like a really big thing, and they're like, well, you still need to use books. Like get 3 of your sources from books, and you can use some internet sources, but use books, go to the
Yes.
library. I equate that now, how people say, well, you can get all your sources online, really. Like you can find everything, but make sure it's a reputable source. And like, so you can use AI, but make sure you're still citing your sources from like whatever these you know what I feel like that's like the equation for those of us
Yeah.
that didn't grow up with Chat GPT around and all this. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like go to the library. It's the just use your library card occasionally.
That's our
That was my
takeaway.
thought. Yeah. All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here, Rowan and Josh. We'll be checking in on AI throughout the year on the podcast, obviously. But for now, thank you, listeners, and we'll see you next time.